So guys, what is OAuth 2? Can anybody explain me? And why? Whether you're implemented or not doesn't matter, but do you know the concept? What and why?
It is used for authorization.
Yes, correct. Yes. And what else?
So it is one kind of authorization technique where the user will be authorized in authorization server. Once he is authorized, he will be provided with the access token where we will be using that access token to access a resource in the system.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yes, you have summarized it too. So it's first thing, instead of what is OAuth 2, why OAuth 2? See guys, let's say you have a web app. This might be my web app. Now you want to make sure only now guys, it's not authorization, it's authentication. See, authentication versus authorization. See, let's say you have a web app. Now in this web app, you may have two types of users, that is users, and then there might be admins. So let's say in your web app, users, they may raise request, right? They may see the data, but then admin, of course, they can do all these things. That is, they may raise a request, they may send data, but then they have higher admin privileges as well. So for example, they can do master data management, they can add, update users, right? So whether user can access our web app, that is whether he can go to the home page of our web app, it is authentication. That is, does he have an access to our web app? What role he has, that doesn't matter. That is authentication. But authorization means, let's say once he is authenticated, now if he tries to click on admin link, is he authorized to perform that action? That is authorization. So both basic user as well as admin user, they both are authenticated against our web app. But whether that logged in user, where he is authorized to perform admin action, that is authorization. So for example, basic user, he is not authorized to perform this action, but admin, he is authorized to perform this action. So that is authentication versus authorization. So OAuth 2, it's authentication. I mean, some say authorization, some say there is confusion, but I believe it's authentication. Okay. So what is OAuth? Before, why OAuth 2? So guys, let's say you have a web app. Now you want to make sure that only authenticated user should be able. See again, I'm saying authenticated, not authorized. Okay. Only authenticated users should be able to access this web app. Now, how you will decide which user is authenticated and which not? So one way, you may create your SQL DB in your app. You may add username, passwords. Now this user, he may enter, let's say, Harshal, password is, let's say, ABCD. Some other user, maybe Shankar, maybe Pooja, right? So one way, yes, you can say, hey user, go and enter username, password, and if you will cross check this username password store in this SQL DB and you will allow this. Now guys, You have entered username password, you have cross-checked. Can anybody tell me, is it a good practice or bad?
Not a good practice.
Correct. And why?
We are storing like a hard-coded password and username.
Yes. So two major issues. We are storing passwords. So we have to secure those when they are stored in TB. We have to also secure when they are transferred over the internet. Right? So obviously it's a worst, not bad, it's a worst practice. Right? Second issue you can say is you have such web app. Let's say there are hundreds of such web apps for which user may be, logged in, right? He may be logging. So do you expect user to store 100 different passwords for different 100 different web apps? Hmm? So let's say your organization, let's say within your application, in your organization, you have 5 applications. So will you ask your user to store username password, 5 different username password for each of those applications? Do you think it's a good practice?
No.
No.
Right? And so
No.
we have what to. See guys, again, I mean, irrespective of which service we are using, first we should always try to understand why we have that service. What is the need to have that service, right? So first, instead of directly discussing what is OAuth, first we understood why OAuth. Now, is it clear to you?
Yes.
And now let's discuss what is OAuth. See, again, we have this user who wants to access our web app, right? And we want to make sure that only authenticated users should be able to access our web app. So of course, now you don't want to save username and password. So obviously, to handle this scenario, that is to decide whether the user is authenticated or not, we have to delegate this responsibility to something, right? So we delegate this responsibility to some external identities provider. Let's call it authorization server. You can call it identity service, whatever. I mean, again, my focus is not to, go through that terminology of official documentation, but let's just try to understand the concept. Okay. So when this user is trying to access this web app, you will say, hey user, I don't know who you are. I don't know whether you are authenticated or not. So first go here, first authenticate yourself. If you are correct, genuine user, legitimate user, this authorization server will give me the token. It will give me the token. So I will check that token. If the token is valid, I will allow you an access to this web app. That's OAuth. That's it, concept. So see, this user is getting authenticated against our web app without that user sharing his password with us. See, that's the important thing. This user, he will enter his username and password, but he will enter it at this site. That is, when this user is trying to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
See now, this user first tried to access our web app. So what we said, we don't know whether you are authenticated or not. So first go to this authorization server and authenticate yourself. So this user enters his username and password against this authorization server. So he has not shared username and password with us. So what to means a user can log in or authenticate against our web app or API without sharing the credentials with us, that is without sharing his password with us. And how this happens is we have this authorization server. Now, what is this authorization server? Can anybody give me an example?
Facebook, Google, Okta.
AD server.
Perfect. Facebook, Google, AD server. So our focus will be on AD. That is Azure Active Directory. In simple words, we will say that, okay, hey user, if you are the part of this Azure Active Directory, if somehow you can prove me that, okay, I'm the part of this Azure Active Directory, then I will assume, yes, you are the authenticated user. So this user, he will enter his username password against this Active Directory. This Active Directory, it will generate token. We call it JWT token, that is JOT token. This JOT token, it will be returned to our web app. So now our web app, it has received this JOT token. It checks whether that JOT token is valid or not. If valid, yes, we allow the access to this user. Any doubt in this, guys?
Yes, Harshal.
Because someone was also having some doubt.
Yes, Harshal, I was having doubt regarding how this web app is going to verify if it's a valid or invalid token.
That actually what we do is we simply say authorize attribute. We decorate with authorize attribute, and it does all these things. We will see that demo. I mean, I will show you that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that's the concept of OAuth. So now here we have this. Okay, let me just maybe color something else. Now, now we are coming to that official definition. So it is our resource owner. Right? And this is our authorization server. So AD is our authorization server. So these are two entities over here. First, second is authorization server.
Harshal, how that resource owner will be authorized in the authorization server? Means I understood like that resource owner should be authenticated or authorization in the authorization server. Then only that resource can be open or else access that web app using the token. Means how he will be means how that resource owner can authorized in the authorization server.
So that demo will say.
Okay. Simply authorization server means AD, right?
Yes.
What is a JWT, Harshal?
That also will see.
Okay.
That's a token. So I will give all this demo. So I will show you, see, this is the author AD. This is how authentication is happening. See, this is the JWT token. So I will show and I will debug that token as well. Okay. See guys, personally, again, I mean, my goal is that you should be able to develop this app. Okay. So that's, I mean, see guys, writing business logic is not important. That I will leave to you. But I want you to explain the concept that so you should be able to implement in your app. So for example, let's say if you in future will develop some app, so it should be secured against networking. It should be secured behind application gateway. It will be secured with OAuth and authorization. So that concept I will explain you. Okay. So again, I mean, just keep it simple. As of now, let's just try to understand this concept. Okay, guys.
Okay, Harsh.
Yeah. Then now when I say this is a web app which a user want to access, right? So can I say that this user wants to access this web app? This is my web app. Can I say that this web app internally has two parts, that is two components? Can I say one has this client app or UI app? Or UI app, and can I say it has this backend app or the app which contains APIs? Can I say this? So when we say this user wants to access this web app, indirectly this user is accessing our client app or UI app. Let's say it might be developed in React or Angular, and we have a different app which contains APIs. Let's say it's been developed in Java or .NET. Can I say this? See, again, I mean, have you used this? Have you seen this?
Yes.
So now, can I say that this user, when I'm say that this is my web application, see guys, this whole is web application. Okay, so user doesn't realize that internally there are two different apps. He thinks it's just one single web app. So can I say that this user, he is now trying to access indirectly, ultimately he wants to access this web app, means let's say you want to view some data, he may want to store some data. So ultimately, can I say ultimately this user wants to access this APIs only? Can I say this?
Yes.
So now can I say this? Guys, give me a minute. So guys, can I say that indirectly this user is accessing our backend app via or through this client app? Can I say this?
Yes.
So now this was our resource owner. Then to decide whether this user is authenticated or not, we have this authorization server or identity provider, whatever you call it. This will be our client app or UI app or whatever you call. And this will be our resource server. Clear? So summary, ultimately this user, he's trying to access or he's trying to call our APIs only, but to decide whether this user is authenticated to call these APIs or not, this user goes to this AD, that is authorization server. If he is a valid user, a JWT token is returned to this web app, that is to this client app. Ultimately, through this client app, now he calls our APIs. That's the summary. Clear?
So Harsha, here can we call client app as the middleware?
Not middleware. It's client app only, not
Okay.
middleware.
Mhm.
It's middle. I don't know whether you're but it's middleware. Sorry, I'm not sure whether you can call middleware, but it's client app.
Okay.
Okay. And instead of this client app, for backend developers, instead of this client app, you can use Postman. So in simple words, this postman, it can act your client app. So ultimately, this user, to access these APIs, he will go through postman. Clear? So is first thing, do you know postman?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, actually.
Yeah. So that's the summary. So if you have understood this concept, you have understood 50% of the part. Clear?